Hi there, welcome to the Ripple Wyckoff technical analysis session. Ripple has been exhibiting some form of weakness for 2 weeks already. Is it really coming down towards a new accumulation and that the distribution is over? Or is it like if there's still a chance for Ripple to go back to a higher point, much like what it demonstrated back in July? So let's quickly take a look at both the weekly and daily time frame and see what the charts are telling us. Here, previously we put in some text. Basically, the yellow and the blues are two different scenarios, which I used to and still inclined to think that the blue scenario is more likely than the red. So basically the blue has already gone through the preliminary supply, buying climax, upthrust, as well as upthrust of the distribution. So according to Wyckoff analysis, if that happens, that really is near the end of a distribution cycle and eventually the price will come down for a new accumulation. How deep it goes, it may not be as deep as the previous accumulation cycle or even the one further ahead. So it can end up at a higher level to accumulate, but not until we see a selling climax. We can't decide where the low point is, because even when there is a selling climax, there is a chance that it demonstrates a lower level test before the accumulation finishes. So as of now, if it is really the blue scenario, Ripple is at a very undecided situation for the bulls, while for the bears, what they have been waiting for may be realizing soon. So here we see basically some lower peaks happening and the downward trend is still going on, but the bulls have been trying very hard, if we look at this long wick at the bottom, to push the price back to near the key level of 3.05, that blue key level. If they are successful in defending and making the price doing horizontal trading over there, that may let Ripple last longer at this higher level. And when that happens, if the price continues to trade within here, there is a triangle here. So meaning it gives more time for the market to decide, is Ripple going to continue along this upward trend box, this blue box over here, or is it not? That would be around end of September. That's the time frame. However, if the price really continues, if this week's candle closing at the current level, meaning it's closing inside this triangle between the blue 3.05 key level as well as the bottom edge of this box, that means it has only till first week of September to decide whether it's going to come back up above the 3.05 key level, or is it going to fall completely outside of the upward channel that started back in April. So if that happens, the bottom edge of the channel box will become a resistance line for the price to go up. So that's the implication of falling outside of the upward channel. So that's why we see this wick over here. It almost touches the bottom edge. Just that because there are two supports over there. One is 2.7 key level as well as the bottom edge of the upward channel. That's why the bulls has been pushing the price fiercely upward away from those dual support. So that's the big picture as of now. The volume themselves aren't very crazy, so I'll say the markets are still waiting for a big move. So if we turn on the counter squeeze, Bollinger Band counter squeeze indicator, previously a squeeze happened over here back in late June and the price shot up. Right now there's no squeeze yet, but a squeeze will build up eventually if the next few weeks the price continues to trade a bit sideways. So when that happens, that's when a bigger price move will appear. So be careful what comes in for September. Like I said, especially when it gets closer to these two triangles. Okay, so that's the big picture. Micro, daily. So for daily, here, previously we asked, is the price coming down for, or to show us a sign of weakness? Indeed, it get to a point that I would consider that already happened. So next, the question is it going back up for a second test like what it did in the beginning of this month, around the purple level 3.38, or is it not going that high, meaning this is already an LPSY? So we see an upward candle, currently today is a downward. So would it come down to fall outside of the trading zone, like I said just now in the weekly chart? So these triangles remain same. One is by first week of September, the other is by end of September. Both means that a key decision has to be made in order for the price to either continue to edge up towards a higher high or falls outside of this upward trend and build a new one eventually, or completely die down to a new accumulation zone, especially for a daily time frame. If in the weekly it comes down to a point of a sign of weakness, meaning somewhere near the light blue key level, in the daily chart that means another round of price down and a new sign of weakness will appear after the LPSY. If the price really comes to the worst case scenario for the bulls, that it falls through 2.7 and only finds support at this yellow level. This yellow key level is basically set by the sign of weakness back in March this year. So there were two lower sign of weakness, one that happened in late June that was around the yellow level, but there was one even lower back in April. So if it is really the worst scenario for the bulls, it may come down directly where the sign of weakness will appear at around the yellow level instead of the light blue. So be very careful with this worst case scenario going to happen if the demand really dies down. But that, looking at the corner squeeze, it may be in the cooking. This bottom line is coming up, the top edge is very close, so it can jump the gun and the price could drop sooner than a squeeze happened. So that's the caveat I'm giving out, calling it early maybe. Looking at the daily chart, besides the things that I mentioned, the squeeze is definitely going on, despite the fact that a squeeze has already pushed the price down and the price has returned to somewhere around the midline over here. That's what I'm saying. But then, because the purple has once again got into the orange and this one is very close still, in the next few days the squeeze may push it further down, or if you're hoping for a rebound, it really depends on whether we can gain momentum similar to what we had just yesterday. So other than Wyckoff and the Bollinger Band corner squeeze, one more thing in candlestick analysis, if you're into that as well, look at what we have here. It's basically a pennant. So a pennant means a price can go either up or down, but some theory says if the price enters the pennant down up, meaning like upwards, that's what happened back in July, the likelihood of the price eventually shooting up would be higher. So if you're the bulls, let's hope this is the case, and that by end of this month or early September it better happens, and better don't fall outside of the upward channel. So ideally, it rebound and eventually shoot up to an upthrust in the daily time frame. So if this is going to happen, like what I said, like because of this pattern, over here in the weekly chart, that means for the blue scenario, this blue scenario would be another like second test instead of an LPSY. So that's a hopeful scenario, wish that could happen for the blues. But then for the yellow scenario, if it really comes back up, that's again a second test. If it really goes higher, that would be an upthrust for the yellow scenario. You can call that a test or an other UTAD, maybe UTAD2 if it's the blue scenario. So ideally, it is possible for it to retest the purple, whether it's going to go higher than the buying climax back in mid-July. That we have to really wait and see, because the demand back then was way crazier than what we see over the past 4 weeks basically. So when the price came down for adjustment, yeah, that's already 28 days, almost a month's time. So if it really comes for a final rebound, the force may not be as high as before. So it may slightly touch or get slightly over the purple keys price level at 3.38 and then eventually quickly comes down, much like what happened back in this period, mid-July and July. So that's the picture for Ripple. Not very optimistic for the bulls, but still a chance to bounce up, but prepare for the bigger